So we're live on all 7 right now. I just need to hit this. We'll see. Today is day 795 of streaming. This is what Twitter X is seeing, as you can see. They're probably gonna have the toughest time hearing us, but that's okay. That's why we have 7 platforms.
So just make sure we project with our voices.
Yeah, or not. They can just jump on over for the sake of today to the many other options we have.
Sorry.
Because the mic is in that cell, so it's gonna have like the most busted audio. Because we're so far from the mic, but that's no problem because we got all these other platforms kicking.
How many people usually watch?
We have around 700 or 800 people come through per stream.
That's pretty good.
And each and every stream, including the replays, is probably at 1,000 views.
That's pretty good. Good job.
Make sure my face is still visible over on Twitter over there.
Thank you. Okay. I think that's it. Let me just run through this checklist. Tyson Schreiner coming in from our church back on the coast, saying what's up.
What's up?
That's probably how you're gonna see some of the comments. Victoria Loves Jesus, coming in from the States, so it's Orange Goo watches you. Coming in from the States, sometimes he views in from work.
Oh, that's sick.
I'm just gonna pull up these monitors and we'll get started in like a couple minutes, not even.
I think the delay's tripping me up.
Yeah. we can fix that if you want. We can get rid of that.
No, it's okay. I'll live. I don't want to be a diva, you know?
You're the talent. You're allowed. Yo, Papa Jordan, let us know if you can hear us, Papa Jordan, Donahue, Mama Victoria. Let us know how the sound's coming through. Papa Tyson Schreiner on the Instagram. Let us know if you can hear us. Maybe if you're on the TikTok, Stephanie with an F. Let us know. Before we get started, we can just like quickly troubleshoot if we need to.
Yeah, just make sure you guys can hear us too, and then...
Hello?
Loud and clear on the TikTok side. 5 by 5. Okay, sounds good. Nice and clear. Okay, we're good to rock and roll. Let me just lean in a little here so I can... Yo, what's up, fam jam? Welcome to today's live stream. I think it's day 795 of live streaming, some of which days multiple streams per day. Anyways, I'm super excited to have, speaking of fam jam, my literal fam. Like, this is Brother Marcus's second time.
Let's go, I'm back!
Marcus's second time on stream. Pardon me if I'm yelling. It's because I'm very excited to have Marcus back in the house. He was here a few weeks ago, dropping just one piece of wisdom. We put him on the spot. Hey, if you could share one thing with the world, what would it be? One piece of life advice. And do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said remember to take care of yourself. You can't meet the needs of others if you can't meet yourself.
Yeah, so good. Definitely scriptural. Matthew chapter 22, Jesus says, love your neighbor as you love yourself as the second greatest commandment. That is alongside the first. And Marcus, who is this sitting next to you? Maybe you want to, I was going to introduce, but maybe you are the man to introduce.
This lovely lady beside me is my fiance Makenna.
Hi. There.
Yo, everybody, please say what's up to Papa Marcus. I'm going to say Mama Makenna. It's got a good ring to it. We'll get to that because they are youth leaders. They are, as I would dare to suggest, if not argue, a papa and a mama in the spirit discipling youth. So we'll get to that. I think hopefully there's so many things that we could talk about. First and foremost, just want to thank you guys for being here, for your yes to being on the broadcast. Now, let's get into some conversation here. And I don't know, we can be done in like 25 minutes or we can be done in 2 hours. We'll just see how this goes. Who knows? The angelic might show up, seraphim playing harps, and who knows what's going to happen. So I just want to thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
And I want to let the people know that, like, yesterday, I was like, yo, Marcus, Makenna, Marcus, in no particular order, like, how do you guys feel about coming on live stream? And I think, Makenna, you were like, I've been thinking about it. Is that what you said?
No, him.
Okay.
No, I said, yeah, I was willing. I was going to think about it, and I was going to approach you after later in the evening, but Makenna just immediately said yes.
Yes, definitely. And that's what I want to get to. If you could please communicate to the people for the sake of empowering and enabling and equipping them to say yes to the Lord or whatever it is. Maybe there's fears surrounding social media, public speaking, like whatever it is, fear of man, as the Bible talks about. Like, please tell us why your yes was so immediate. There was no hesitation. I want to know why.
I think for me, a big thing in my journey has always been looking at other people and being like, oh, I can't worship the Lord well. And I think a big thing for me was like, I was like, I'm not a good singer. I'm not musically talented. And then I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago in Bible college, God was like, hey, yeah, but I did give you a voice. You have a really cool story and you have I've blessed you with a lot of wisdom. And so like, whenever I'm challenged with the opportunity to talk, I go, okay, God, yep, I will happily talk about you when the doors are open. So not a me thing, a him thing, being like, I've given you a great voice. Use it, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, I'm going to jump on that, and then we'll let Marcus respond. Just because it's so good, Makenna, you're saying, and like, again, as I've been saying behind the scenes, and I'll say on the front lines here, when we're live in public, like, this isn't for content. My first and foremost is just us, our connection, our friendship, and honoring you guys, appreciating you guys. Like, I could care less if everything just shuts down or whatever. Like, us just chilling and vibing and me taking care of you. Like, you guys are my priority. So I want to jump on that and talk about, like, you said giving God your yes and your platform, and like, hey, you've given me this voice, so who am I? And so, like, anytime the doors are open, I'll just say yes. And I think there's something there, and it's what I've been praying about in the past is the worst time, IMO, in my opinion, to make decisions is in the heat of the moment. Because in the heat of the moment, I am going to, like, weigh and I'll talk myself out of things, or like I'll make excuses. But if I'm doing what Makenna has proposed in her response, like, no, God, anytime there's an open door, I'm going to talk about you, and giving God your yes, like, outside of the moment, I have found extremely powerful. So thank you. Anything?
Oh, I want to add to that.
Oh, please do. Let's flow.
Want to add to that.
Let's flow, yeah.
Something I heard 2 years ago, one of the camp speakers at Rockridge had come, and it was for one of the women's weekends, and I was sitting in the AV booth, and I was just listening there to what she was saying. And one of the points she was saying was, decisions made in wisdom will not be revoked in fear. And
Bro, time. Say that again for the slow people. Me. Because that's it. If you guys came for anything, that was it. That's exactly it.
Decisions made in wisdom will not be revoked in fear.
Yeah.
And what that means is if I make plans with a friend on Friday, and then Friday comes along and I don't want to do it because I'm tired or I'm exhausted or I just don't want to do it, that's a decision that you're wanting to revoke in fear, but you made the decision back in the day in wisdom, being like, I want to hang out with these people, and now you're trying to pull it back. And it's just stuck with me for the past 2 years because it's so powerful, and so often you're like, no, I want to back away from what I'm doing, but oh wait, I made this decision in wisdom a few days ago. And so now in the heat of the moment, I'm trying to pull away. Exactly. And so I just keep going.
Exactly. That's so good. Decisions made in wisdom are not revoked in fear. Bro, I'm not a tattoo guy, but if I was, right here, like here, like here, you know, like here, like neck, that's neck tat worthy. I'm not a tattoo guy, but decisions made in wisdom are not revoked in fear. That's exactly it. That's exactly what I was trying to say, but obviously I can understand why you're marrying this man. That was just much more eloquent and poetic than, hey, decisions are best made outside of the heat of the moment. That's kind of my own language and my own revelation, but thank you, Papa Marcus. Now you know why I'm going to call Marcus Papa Marcus and Makenna Mama Makenna, because they're discipling. They're training up young people. Can you tell us about that? Like, what is it exactly that you do? How old are your kids is what I want to know. And like, what does discipling look like? Is it like budgeting? Is it like Bible study? Like what?
You want to go first?
Yeah. So we volunteer for an organization called Young Life. It's a worldwide organization. I think there's like, it's in over like 95 countries. I don't know the logistics, but it's just everywhere. And we present it in different ways. I volunteer with the high schoolers. So I work with the high schoolers. I hang out with them on Monday nights. And we show them the love of God through joy and laughter and just walking alongside of them. And our favorite saying is we just like meeting kids where they're at. And so that's wherever that is. And Young Life has broadened, and there's organizations that do it for kids on the street, and they also do it for kids with diverse abilities. And so we just really like walking alongside kids and meeting them where they're at. And if all along the way they meet Jesus, great. If not, we want to just be a part of your lives and pour into you and show you the love of God.
So good.
Yeah, I'm with the section of Young Life called Wildlife, and that is the grades 6 to 9. Okay. So we get the people, we are essentially their introduction into Young Life at times, and then once they start hitting grade 9, we start introducing them to the high school section, and we send them over to hang out with other high schoolers, so we connect them with the high school clubs and stuff like that. Yeah, and so we're just hanging out with them and doing life with them, like Makenna said.
Yeah.
And we try our best to be intentional about going to hang out with them in their lives and meeting them where they're at.
So good. So many things. Love you guys, honor you guys. I think we can talk about ministry, and I think we can talk about marriage probably a lot, as these are soon to be young marrieds, and they are engaged. Again, just want to celebrate and honor. Marriage is God's idea. I was reading Genesis 2 right before you guys came in, and even in Genesis 2, God says of Adam and Eve, that this is why man and woman have come together. Even before like anything, there's no Mosaic law. Anyways, we're not going to get too technical or theological here, but I just love what you guys embody in terms of ministry. I might be biased, being a youth and young adult leader for 13 years. I just have like a heart for youth leaders. Anybody who works with grade 6 to 9 teenagers. Wait, how old are your kids, Makenna, that you work with?
Matters the area, but yeah, we're 9 to 12.
Okay.
10 to 12.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Awesome age. I was working with grade 7, so that's 12 years old, all the way up to 18 years old, grade 12, and that was my like youth, teenager, high school side of it, and then I also did lots of young adults. So, anyways, I think this is huge because this is what I'm seeing right here, right now. There might be teenagers. Yes, we do. I think our youngest viewer is probably 6 years old. But I know that we have a lot of parents who are probably, as I have had, maybe you've had this too with your youth leadership and teens ministry at Young Life. Parents will come up to me and they'll be like, yo, like fix my teenager. Like, how do I help my teenager? Like, what do I do? I just want them to like go after the Lord. Hey, they're hanging out with bad friends and whatever. And so I think there's a lot of transferable principles here, because teenagers are people too. So I'll say this, like in my 13 years of youth and young adult experience, leading and pastoring, shepherding, whatever you want to call it, I've understood how simple it is, in the sense that I'm not waving and wagging my religious finger. That tends to have the opposite effect. And what you guys both mentioned, we laugh together and we just walk alongside them wherever they're at. There's joy and through laughter, and meeting them where they're at, were Makenna's words. And so I really think that's it. What I've learned is that consistency is key, and simple friendship. Like, they look up to you as big bro Marcus, big sister Makenna. I'm going to say, as the chat's already calling you Papa Marcus and Mama Makenna. So sick. Prophesy. So yeah, I've really learned that. And maybe that's ministry even with adults in their 30s and in their 40s and 50s. It's not that difficult. When we see Jesus's discipleship plan, what did he do? He just did life with them. They would just like eat together, journey together, walk with each other, like you said, and just build friendship and just like chill and laugh in the joy of the Lord, which I'll make this scriptural, Romans chapter 14. The kingdom of God is not a matter of eating and drinking, but of righteousness, peace, and joy. So thank you guys for bringing that. And if we could, transferable, teachable takeaways, I would say this: if there are any teenagers in and around you that you're just trying to reach, that you're trying to like win over, that you're trying to help, maybe like not hang out with the wrong crowd, it's as simple, I would propose, as just simply befriending them, hanging out with them, and it comes with consistency, I would suggest, where they observe your life. There's mentorship just organically. Anything else you guys want to add? Because I feel like I'm talking a lot right now.
No, the only thing I would add is, if you feel like you are struggling to make those connections with these people, you just have to listen to them. All of these kids and all of these teens have so much to say,
Yes.
and nobody's listening to them. And so I find that you make so much progress with these kids by just stopping and listening to them. And you will find that they will just talk to you, and you will become their best friend just by listening.
Yeah. So good.
I think what I was just going to say is, I think the hard thing about being a teenager is you're wanting the respect that you get when you're an adult, but you're still a kid. And I think I just thought of the story. I can recite where stories in the Bible, cannot tell you where they are, but the story of Jesus being like, bring the children, like, let them come to me. And I think that is like, I think we forget that teenagers are still kids, but they deserve the respect that we give adults. And it's such an awkward time in their lives that don't discredit them just because they're going through a lot and they're figuring themselves out. And so I think that's a huge thing of not just being like, oh, they're just being dramatic, oh, they're just being hormonal, or they're just, I think, like, when you find yourself doing that, pause and be like, okay, no, how can I understand where they are in their life and still treat them with as much respect as they deserve?
So good.
No.
Because teenagers are people too, and people deserve respect. Okay, there's so much I want to jump on. I'm getting super excited. This is like, I just miss this, man. I miss, like, I was like hanging out with teenagers like all week. We would have Fridays. Every Friday I would come up with like a draft from scratch material and teaching, and then after we would just like have bubble tea, and then we would just like chat until like 2 a.m 5 a.m, like, and it was just a really sacred time of my life, where, if I may, when I started, I didn't like teenagers. I thought teenagers were ultra annoying, and I was like, I'm an adult. Like, I would rather hang with young adults. I was in my probably mid to late 20s at that time, but then honestly, after a full year of just giving God my yes, I just fell in love with them, because as Makenna is saying, and I want to jump on what Marcus is saying and then come back to what Makenna is saying. As Makenna is saying, like, I am fascinated by teens in the regards that they are not quite an adult, but they are not quite a kid. So what are they? They're this weird, awkward, prepubescent teen. And it's tough because Your voice is changing, maybe, and your body's changing, chemicals are changing, your feelings and emotion, your body, like everything, your chemistry. And I would know from personal experience, because I had a tough time as a teenager. And maybe that's why I'm so drawn to teens as well. And again, I'll make this scriptural before we jump on some more stuff. In Hebrews chapter 4, as well as Hebrews chapter 7, as well as all of Hebrews, it talks about Jesus being the great high priest and how he is a sufficient priest, empathetic and able to understand everything we're going through, because he didn't just walk in our shoes. As I say, he walked in our skin and in our flesh, because he, God with us, Emmanuel, Matthew chapter 1. And so he just knows what it's like because he's been there. So what Marcus was saying was, bro, just listen. That's huge. That is just like, honestly, I think it's the gospel, because love looks like something. And I'll tell you why it's scriptural. James chapter 1, we'll read some Bible, verse 19. James chapter 1, verse 19. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen and slow to speak. That's huge. And what Makenna was saying, I know what it is. It's Matthew 18 and Matthew 19. That's why we're a family. We're going to help each other out. Like, hey, let the children come.
Yeah.
Because the parents were bringing their kids to Jesus. And they're like, hey, Jesus, can you lay hands on my kids? You know, can you bless them? And the disciples are like, get these kids out of here. They're like second-class citizens. Get these teenagers, these youths out of here. And then Jesus says, no, let the kids come. Like, what this is honorable. And so he lays hands on them and he prays with them. And so... so good. Thank you guys for saying that. And thank you guys for serving. I really think this is how we change society. If every teenager could have Mama Makenna in their life, could have Papa Marcus in their life, good role models, because you're only as smart as who you walk with. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And I think when it comes to just human behavior, which is very scriptural, human beings, for God so loved the world, and that he gave his one and only son, that doesn't mean the dirt or the geography, but it means like the people, man. And teenagers are people too. Probably the name of my new book, Forward by Papa Marcus. So anything else that you guys want to add to that? Teens, kids,
I was just going to say,
listening.
I feel like even... for me, sometimes I go, Jesus was a teenager too at one point.
Yo, what?
And
yes,
he was like, Jesus went through puberty, which is crazy to think about.
That's nuts.
That the Lord our God went through puberty.
That's
but
nuts.
He totally did. And he probably, like, obviously not to the same extent, but like he struggled too. His teenagehood was not easy. Like he ran away from his parents. That's biblical. So I think I just kept thinking of that.
That's so funny. I just see like a teenager validating themselves running away from home right now and not listening to their parents by like pointing the scriptures and being like, well, Jesus did it. Jesus stayed in the temple. Jesus ran away from Joseph and Mary. That's hilarious. So good. Anything else?
I mean, going back to listening, I've noticed...
Yes!
I've noticed that a small amount of interest in any of my wildlife boys' hobbies and interests.
Yes.
As soon as they start talking about it and you express a modicum of interest in it, they're like, oh my gosh, you're the best person ever.
Yeah.
Like some of my boys, they love currently talking about Fortnite.
Okay.
And I couldn't stand it. But like if I express any amount of interest in it and I say, oh, tell me about that, or like I expressed interest in it, they just light up and they blossom like flowers, and they're just like, they just get so excited, and it's just so easy, and they just want to be your friend as soon as you start expressing interest in their life. Like it's just crazy how much a little interest and a lot of listening can do in these guys.
That's so good. Again, I think listening is perhaps everyone's love language. Even God's himself, when we listen to him, whether that's the Rhema word or the Logos, whatever it is, people feel loved, right? And I'm going to suggest that the opposite is also true. If somebody is not listening to me when I'm trying to communicate, I I feel not loved. I feel like they're not interested. I lose interest. I disconnect and I shy away. And so I love that, Marcus. Active listening, and it pulls things out of your wildlife boys, like you're saying, and you're like, I don't even like Fortnite, but then but I like them, so I'll like listen to them and what they have to say. And again, I just want to communicate to our people that sure, on one hand, we're talking about youth ministry and teenagers, but to an even greater extent, I think we're just talking about people and how to love people well, and listening to people. And I would propose that this isn't just for teenagers.
Not at all.
That it's only teenage boys that want you to listen to them talk about Fortnite. I think full-grown men want you to listen to them talk about their trucks or like whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Spending an actual fortnight in the bush, like hunting, like whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's so good. And maybe we'll go into something that I'm excited about that might be a new concept, especially as Papa Marcus is talking about listening, and we're talking about conversation, which I'm going to say is prayer. Like, what does this have to do with my Christ-following faith? Prayer is simply conversation with God. Prayer is simply conversation with Yahweh. And at times, conversation can be turn-based. Sometimes God speaks and we listen. Sometimes we speak and God listens. And it's the same with our friendships. Sometimes Makenna will speak, I'll listen. And sometimes I'll speak right now and Makenna's listening, right? And so that's just like, I love listening. And if our people will be able to tell us, especially like those who have been with us a long time, I just love sitting and listening to the Lord. And so let's talk about turn-based conversation, especially as we're like passing the microphone back and forth between Marcus and Makenna and Marcus in no particular order, just because we have limited equipment. So anyways, that's fine. I mean, we're making, we're doing good with what we have, but making the best of what we have. Makenna, please, tell us about perhaps turn-based conversation, because many people might be like, huh? Like what? What is that? Please, would you be able to share a little?
I'd love to talk about turn-based conversations. Can I talk about our experience with turn-based conversations?
Absolutely.
Oh,
okay.
My goodness.
So this is a passion of mine. I love talking about, I think listening to people talk is the best way to love people. Wow. And I think when you, to put harshly, can't close your mouth and listen, I think you're taking away a lot from the ability to love people and listen to them. And I think you learn a lot about people by listening. And so I think this is something we experienced at the beginning of our relationship, is I was like, hey, Marcus, you don't really let me talk. Like, you just have a lot to say, and I really don't feel heard, because I just feel like every time I'm trying to talk, you're using that as an opportunity. As an opportunity to talk. And I go, but I want like space, and so I think it's it's been an important piece of our relationship and even now we're at a point where, like, I think 2 days ago we were having a whole conversation, and at one point Marcus is like, you have not let me talk at all. You've interrupted me 4 times. And I go, oh, I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. So it's not even something I'm great at sometimes. And especially when you get passionate and you get excited about things, you're like, I just want to keep talking because I have all of this stuff going on in my head. But it's now just become a like, hey, you're not listening to me. You're not letting me talk. I love turn-based conversation.
Yeah, and like McKenna was saying, like, in our relationship, it's something that very quickly became very pivotal for us, and it's something that I wasn't aware of until McKenna brought it up. It wasn't something I even considered was a thing, because in my family, the social culture for us was, in order to make your voice be heard in your family, you had to interject, you had to interrupt. And in our family and in our social culture, that was fine. And that's okay and that's acceptable.
Yes.
But as soon as I brought it into mine and McKenna's relationship, it's very quickly became something that was not acceptable. It became rude, and it devalued McKenna's voice, because she came from a place where turn-based conversation was important, where it's valuable, and where in larger community settings, it is something that is used and is more popular, but I didn't know. And as such, I was disrespecting McKenna, and I was disrespecting a lot of other people, and I was hurting them without even realizing it.
Wow. That's huge. Okay, I'm getting lots of stuff here that I want to jump on. Thank you guys for sharing. Me too. I'm passionate about conversation as a whole. I'm passionate about the different approaches and or styles. This is what I have to say right now in this moment. You might not like this, but we can talk about it. Pun intended. Turn-based conversation and or conversations that welcome interjections, we'll say, where you kind of talk on top of each other and there isn't really any flow. Whoever's loudest gets their words in. I would say that they are equally valuable, distinctly different. Yes. I think that they're separate faculties that are both warranted because, as I'm learning, being a turn-based conversation type of person, I would suggest, at least in recent years, that I had to kind of come over to this side that Marcus is talking about in his past experiences where, like, hey, in environments that I've been familiar with growing up, do you need to go? Let me know if you... Okay. That's the way... And so I've seen it play out. Sometimes I'm a part of it, and sometimes I'm not, where I can see the efficacy. Frankly speaking, I can see the energy and the synergy and how alive it is. And it's like boom, 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 pow, pow, pow. And people are like stepping over each other. I'm like, this is kind of chaos, TBH. Like, who is talking right now? But the jokes are like flying and it's just hilarious. And it's like so loud. And that's not a bad thing, especially if everybody has a mutual understanding, that's what we're going for. Not that we need to like engineer conversation and take the life and the beauty out of it and like pick it apart, so to speak. But I would like to propose, maybe you're more like Marcus is talking about, where he's like, well, when I was growing up, we had to like, whoever was the loudest, you had to like fight for your conversation piece of the conversation pie, as cousin Nat was talking about, whose painting is on the wall, by the way. I keep telling her that. Cousin Natalie was talking about the conversation pie, and sometimes you just gotta fight because people don't understand the equal conversation pie, which is kind of like, let's talk about conversation and what cousin Nat taught us, where say there's three of us, that's 33.33% of the pie. If there was another person here, they would have 25% of the conversation pie. Marcus would have 25% of the conversation pie. Makenna would have 25% of the conversation pie. And Jeremy would have 25% of the conversation pie. And that's kind of how turn-based conversation is, maybe even graphed as a pie graph. So I like this. I want to propose that they are distinctly different, but they are like equally powerful. Because I've made perhaps the mistake of thinking that turn-based conversation is the only way. And anybody who doesn't understand that, they're just some pagan heretic, you know? And I was like, like look at all the scriptures. Seek first to listen. Thank you. Thank you guys for proposing that and suggesting that. And I'll say this, and then I'll let the room breathe and give you guys a chance to talk. And it's that what we're talking about here is communication. What we're talking about here is prayer, because that's all prayer is, communicating with God. And so this is what I wanted to end with, just in terms of my turn in talking. I mean, we'll see. We don't have too much time left, but I know you got places to be and people to see. It's that I'm gonna propose that the depth of relationship between us and anybody, maybe us and each other, maybe us and the Lord, it really hinges on communication. It really hinges on our ability to communicate with each other, no matter what style or template we might have. But it's I can't really comprehend the concept of a thriving relationship that has busted communication. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think that to the level that you guys communicate really is going to perhaps determine the level of one's friendship or relationship.
Well, I think this is one of the most valuable things I've ever learned, is the idea of like you can only be loved as much as you're known. And I think the idea of like, yeah, so right. And they explained it to me as like a Tupperware of like, you can only be filled up as much as you have space for. So if you're like have a really shallow relationship with someone, they can only ever know you this much. And like with like 200 mils of water, and that's as much as they can love you. But then the more you let them know you, and I think that comes with the conversation. And if you want to love people well, you have to know them well, and to know them well, you have to listen.
I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, okay, deep conversations with people. Like, you can have shallow conversations with people, and you can have deep conversations with people. And I was like, okay, how do you have more deep conversations with people? And it's like, oh, wait, you can't have a deep conversation with another person if you are indeed yourself a shallow person. You can't have a deep conversation with someone else if you don't have the depth yourself.
Right.
And I was like, okay,
Yes.
am I a shallow person? Or just like, no, I do have deep conversations. It's like, okay, but how do you have more deep conversations? Like, no, you have to expand upon yourself further before you can have another deep conversation with someone else.
Yes. That makes sense. It kind of reminds me of what you were saying earlier, Papa Marcus, where, hey, what's one piece of advice you'd give the world? Self-care. Take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of others? How can you give away something that you yourself do not have? And I really like this. In order to have deep conversations, I have to perhaps go to a deep place myself so that I can invite other people into the things that I've been chewing on and praying on, the deeper conundrums of the human experience, whatever, as unpopular as they might be, maybe one-on-one, off the record, off of live stream, off the cams and mics. I might have a really deep conversation with Papa Marcus, and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, I really like that. And what you guys are saying, to what I'm hearing collectively, is that in order to be known, in order to have that depth of relationship, we need to be vulnerable and to communicate, hey, these are the deep things. I'm going to trust you with this deep thought that I've had, trusting that you're not just going to like reject it, rebuke it, and renounce it. And so I really like that.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's in Genesis 1 or Genesis 2, where God looks at Adam and goes, oh, it is not good to be alone, and gives him Eve. And I think that that's like welcoming into God and his like one of his first actions in the world, and being like, oh, like I did not create people to be alone. And so you have to walk into the uncomfortable of letting other people into your life to walk into what God intended for people.
You're saying in order to be in the intentions and or the will of God, it's going to involve people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming from as early as Genesis 1 and 2, where it is not good for man to be alone. Because that's one of the things that was coming to mind when we were talking. It's also in the New Testament. It continues to be emphasized in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, talking about the body of Jesus Christ. The eye cannot say to the hand, I do not need you. The head cannot say to the feet, I do not need you. I can't say to Makenna, I don't need you. Because truth be told, I need you. You guys came in clutch for Kathleen and I just want to like thank you and honor you for the ways that you guys have served us and during our time of need when we got married. Okay, so when my wife and I, Kathleen, who is Marcus's sister, all right, Marcus my bro, and my future sister-in-law here, I'm gonna drop the in-laws. You're just my bro, you're just my sis. All right, so when we were getting married, Mrs. Adventures with Jesus and I, Marcus and Makenna were serving hard. Marcus is flying this drone, and Makenna's like organizing and getting everybody like where they need to be. And I just want the world to know how grateful Kathleen and I are for the ways that you guys have served us, even behind the scenes stuff we don't even know about, every single text message, every single character, like whatever it is, just thank you. And as we wrap up the live stream, I want to say publicly in front of everybody, like, I just want to be there for you guys the same way that you guys were there for us. And I'm holding back tears because I just see the love. It's in the listening, it's in the servitude, the way that you guys have just served us and volunteered your time, the way you guys volunteer your time with Young Life and you serve families, not just teenagers, you're serving families. And so just thank you guys. Anything else? I don't know, before we wrap up?
Well, I was really excited to talk about a relationship and what our relationship looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is that what
we talked about?
Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, I'm so game to keep going.
Okay. So
I don't got anywhere to be.
Okay, all right. Okay, we can keep going. All right, I was about to wrap up these guys. I love it.
I'm ready.
I mean, you can wrap
I've
up.
prayed
No,
about
no.
it. I'm ready to go.
I love your yes. You're ready to go. Let's send it. So I think where this is coming from is perhaps like, so you guys are in like your early 20s. You guys are in your early 20s, and I was behind the scenes, and now on the front lines, I was commending Marcus and McKenna and Marcus for doing things right. And I was like, yo, maybe we'll talk about on stream, maybe we won't. Like, why are you guys getting married? Why take that formal step? Why not just hang in the gray, lukewarm area? Marriage is just a paper, brother Jeremy. Don't tell me how to live my life. It's just a piece of paper. Like, why not do the common law thing? Like, why are you guys taking that formal step to be in covenant with each other? Is the question that I kind of proposed to them behind the scenes. And it sounds like McKenna really wants to talk about that, which I'm so glad, because I'll say this. Maybe the reason why we have busted marriages, maybe the reason why there are dysfunctional, busted Christians, it's because in the Christian church, we don't talk about this stuff. And I think if we were to talk about the taboo things like maybe marriage, like maybe pornography, like maybe drugs and addiction, maybe social media addiction, dopamine, endorphins, like whatever, maybe we would be able to disciple people through the scriptures, you know what I'm saying, in a good and godly way, because people are going to get discipled. They're basically going to learn one way or another, and they're going to get it from their friends. They're going to get it from, God forbid, TVs and movies or mainstream media. And so, yeah, McKenna, just take it away, whatever you want to say, just to give people kind of a background of how this, like, is so good.
Well, I think we talked about it a bit yesterday, and then I went away and I was like, okay, like I know I believe what I believe, but why do I believe it? And so then I was like praying, and then I was scrolling on social media, and then a video came up, and it was two people talking, and this guy was talking about the statistics of like, if you live together before you're married, that like divorce is higher. And then it talked about the saying of, what's the saying? Like, you want to test drive a car before you buy it.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking about that, and I was like, I've had past situationships, whatever you want to call them, where I was like, oh, that's what it was. It was like us test driving. And I was like, it feels good to do that to someone else, because then you have control and you kind of have like, but then I was like, but when that happens to me, it feels like crap. And it feels like, just diminishing my value and like diminishing like who I am. And me and Marcus were just talking, and I was like, it is conditional love when you've decided that like, well, I need to see if you live well with me, and if you like, if we like match well together sexually and all of these things. And I think the idea that like, I will only love you if you work well with me, and if you kind of match the needs I need. And I was just kind of saying that like, in my life, and as we've been like talking about getting married, and then now being engaged and like getting married, all the tensions of when I go like, I don't know if I want to get married, like this feels like a lot, and I like actually look in, I'm like, oh, this is just because like it's a lot of work and it makes me uncomfortable, and it's like butting against my pride. And I'm like, well, Marcus like really does this, and it really annoys me, and like he pushes me to be a better person when I don't want to be a better person. And like the idea that like, again, I cannot tell you where, but like the idea when Paul talks about like, if you want to minister to people, stay single, and if you want to be more like God, get married. And I think the idea of that was a little twist on its head recently of like, your goal in marriage should be to make the other person more like God, not make yourself more like God. And which is such a like, let's flip marriage on its head and make it not about you, and how like they'll show up for you in your life well and the way you want. And instead, like, how can I show up for someone else, and how can I love them unconditionally? And I think we talked about this at the beginning of our relationship of like, right after we said I love you, I was like, okay, Marcus, what does that actually mean to you? Because I know what it means to me, and I know when I tell you that I love you, like what that means. And I was like, I was raised to believe that love is a choice, and like there's a feeling to it as well, and you'll feel it at the beginning, but then it very much so becomes a choice, and you have to like choose to love the other person when they're annoying you or when they're bugging you. And something my mom said to me when I was growing up and when I was getting on her nerves is she goes, I need you to know that I really love you, but right now I don't like you. And those are not the same thing. And like, I choose to love you and I'm loving you because you're my daughter and I want to love you, but right now you're getting on my nerves. And so I think like we just talked about the idea of like, what does unconditional love actually look like? And that's the goal of marriage, is to push the other person to be more like God and to learn to love unconditionally and learn to love more like God loves the church.
Wow. I can't believe you guys are in your early 20s. This is some like 80-year-old wisdom right here, right meow. This is like Mama Makenna coming in with the bombs. Anything else you guys want to?
No, it's what McKenna is speaking for me in this matter, because we have had endless conversations and endless amounts of communication, and so she is fully reflecting the culmination of our journey together, of my stories and her stories, and the two of them merging together to eventually be like, okay, no, this is what love is, this is what our life is, and this is what a relationship is. And we have worked to develop our communication for the two of us so that we can communicate how to love each other, how to take care of each other, and how to meet the other person and take care of their needs. It's been a constant thing that we've been working on, is just our communication with each other. And I think it's going to be something we continue to work on for probably the rest of our lives, is as we change and as we grow, how do we communicate with each other to better love each other?
Wow. I'm so mind blown right now. Okay, so I was convinced before, but I'm even more convinced in this moment that like you guys are gonna make it. Like just listening to you guys, I'm like, you guys are lifers. You're gonna be together happily ever after for the rest of your life. And it's not like marriage and or romantic relationship doesn't come with its obstacles. But John chapter 16, Jesus says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And so like, yeah, we might have moderate disagreements here and there. It's just human relationship, no matter what the context, romance or not. But Jesus has given us the tools to overcome those. As I like to say, Jesus doesn't give us the finished product. Well, bam, here's a perfect marriage. Just zap you. Microwave Amazon Prime, the perfect marriage to you, same day delivery. But he doesn't give us the finished product nearly as much as he gives us the building blocks, the raw materials to build. Maybe it's communication. Maybe it's selflessness. Maybe it's love is patient, love is kind. It is not boastful or self-seeking, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And so I love this. I love this. I love this. I'm so excited for you guys. I'm excited about you guys. And I'm seeing this right now, that you guys, of course, are going to go the distance and be lifers and are going to make it because you're surrounded with good people. You have good community. You have good parents. I've been in your home. And I have been in your home, coincidentally. I've met your family, your siblings, and it's just, man, you guys are surrounded by just like healthy culture, healthy community. And, Kathleen and I are here to journey with you guys and you guys with us, you know what I'm saying? And we're just going to run alongside each other in this awesome way. And so, thank you guys for sharing about that. Okay, so I'm going to jump on something and then we'll see where this goes. Because I'm sure you guys just have so much more. Hopefully this is maybe the first. Guys, let us know in the chat if you want Papa Marcus to come back for his third. If you want Mama Makenna to come back for her second stream. Like, guys, blow up the chat. Rocket emoji, fire emoji, muscle flex emoji these cats right now if you want them to come back. But so we were hanging out with our church, Kathleen and I, and we're just hanging with this couple, happily married. They're great. They're just so solid. They're heavy hitters. They're high level. They have 3 children, and they sit us down. We're kind of just having lunch, and they're like, he's so intense. This guy I'm talking about, he's like, I love him for that reason. He's like, Jeremy, do you know what the purpose of marriage is? He's just staring like a hole in my soul. Jeremy, do you know what the purpose of marriage is? And for some kind of almost naive half a second, I was gonna offer something. Yeah, I know what the purpose of marriage is, when I just tried to fill the space with something. And then wisdom kicked in, and I was like, no, man of God, I don't know what I don't know what the purpose of marriage is. And this is what he says, much to your point. He's like, the purpose of marriage is to manifest the bride. And so Kathleen and I have been chewing on that. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, what did the man of God mean? Did he mean like scripturally, like Jesus manifesting like the bride of Jesus Christ, capital B? Or did he mean like, was he talking to me? Like, my purpose is to manifest my spouse and have them become the fullness of who they are. As somebody else says in our church, they were like, saying of their wife, they were like, Jeremy, my job is to ensure that my wife blossoms. And that's been with me. I've been chewing on that. That's been like my daily mantra, TBH. And much like Mama Makenna is saying, hey, I am here in loving relationship to promote you and to build you up and to maybe make you blossom or help you become the fullness of who you are. And so I really like that. And I'm going to propose that it is absolutely scriptural, because that's what Jesus came to do. When we think of who's a good role model when it comes to being a groom and when it comes to being a husband with a bride, probably Jesus. Pretty good example. And Jesus came. And he like laid down his life to the point of death to manifest his bride, so that his bride can become the fullness of who she is, meaning us, the collective body of Jesus Christ, the church, capital C. And so I really like that, Makenna, when you're saying, hey, my job is to like build the other person. I've been using words like blossom or help them come into the fullness of who they are. So thank you. Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, I was telling Marcus this on the way, that I was like, you always hear the, like, growing up in the church, you always hear the, like, God is the groom and the church is the bride. Mm-hmm. And you kind of are like, okay, yeah. And then now in the last, like, even the last few weeks of like us stepping closer to marriage, and then also like sorting things out, like finances and like how we want to live our life. And then it was brought up again at church, and I was like, oh, I get it now. I was like, oh, I actually like fully understand what that means. And I'm not in a place where I can put it into words, but I was like, I literally did not understand the like depth and like how much God being married to the church, and like him like also looking at the church like a bride and like treating the church like a bride is like, and I just like, you can't get it. I was like, I just didn't get it until I was experiencing, and I haven't even been married yet.
Yes.
So I'm going to experience it better once I'm actually married. But like getting closer to marriage, I'm like, oh, that's what it means. I get it now.
Yeah, that's what people have been telling me.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, you're going to learn more about Jesus. You love Jesus, Jeremy? Well, get ready, because when you get married, you're going to learn more about Jesus. It's going to be like the ultimate discipleship program. And now I can see it. I'm like, okay, these people were right. And if I could just read some Bible, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31 and onward. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31 and onward. As the scriptures say, by the way, these guys are reading the Bible. These guys are on the 1-year Bible reading plan. Let's go. Okay, Ephesians 5, 31 and onward. As the scriptures say, a man leaves his father and mother. This is coming from Genesis 2. This is a throwback, even though this is Ephesians 5, verse 31 and onward. A man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Speaking of marriage, this is a great mystery, per Makenna's point. This is a great mystery, but it is an illustration of the way Christ and the church are one. We see this crazy language all across the Bible where our relationship in marital context is so like an illustration of the bigger picture, which is Christ and his bride. So thank you for saying that. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Yeah, I don't need to add anything right now.
Yeah. Okay, should we call it quits?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Guys, can we, and if you feel like anything else, just interject.
Okay, great.
Okay,
We'll just save it for round 2.
We could definitely save it for round 2. Guys, can we just thank Papa Marcus and Mama Makenna one more time for jumping on, just for their yes. What was this wise decision outside of things that cannot be?
Decisions made in wisdom will not be revoked in fear.
That's so good. Decisions made in wisdom will not be revoked in fear. Just thank you guys again for absolutely everything. Okay, I think that's it. Any last and parting words before we shut down?
No.
God bless.
Have a good day and take care of yourself.
Okay. Do one of you want to pray us out?
Sure, I'd love to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this day. I thank you for Jeremy and all that he does, for the people that watch him, that listen, and that tune into his stream. I just pray you would bless him and bless his community today, Lord. I pray you would go forth with him and continue to give him your words, that what he says would just come from you, and just, it would not be him, it would just be through him. Lord, we just pray a blessing over him into this day and into the days to come. In your name I pray. Amen.
Bro, thank you. Amen. Okay, fam. We'll see you when we see you. Again, just shout out Marcus and Makenna. I don't know, how can they follow you? Are you guys on IG? You on Twitch? Like, how can these people follow you and find you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Probably not.
okay.
No.
I don't think I usually just don't accept I'm private. So
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
a,
know
also
who
a
you are,
private
so-
IG man.
All right, you guys. If you want to get a hold of them, you come to me. All right, I'll filter all the messages. We'll see you when we see you, fam. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
No Holy Spirit. No Holy Spirit after party, fam. That's okay. Take care. God bless. Bye.